The stars looked peaceful that day when Commander Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty. His crew of 50 humans had been traveling for 3 months looking for new worlds and new friends among the stars. Jake was a calm man with gray hair and kind eyes who believed that talking was better than fighting. He had spent 20 years in space and had never fired a weapon at another thinking being. The Liberty was not a warship. It carried gifts and knowledge from Earth. The ship had gardens where they grew food and laboratories where they studied planets. Jake's crew included doctors and teachers and scientists. They had translators and artists and engineers. All of them wanted to meet other people who lived among the stars and share what humans had learned. Lisa Carter was the youngest officer on the ship. She was 25 years old with bright red hair and a quick smile. Lisa worked with the communication systems and spoke 6 human languages. She dreamed of learning how aliens talk to each other. Lisa had joined the space service because she wanted to help humans make friends with whoever they might find out there in the dark. The ship's sensors found something big moving toward them. Jake called his crew to their stations. The thing they saw made them gasp. It was huge and black and covered with spikes. The alien ship was 10 times bigger than the Liberty. Strange lights moved across its surface like angry red eyes. The hull looked like it was made from the bones of dead creatures. Jake told Lisa to send a message to the alien ship. She spoke in simple words and sent pictures that showed humans were peaceful. She transmitted music from Earth and images of children playing. The message said that humans came in peace and wanted to learn and share knowledge. Lisa made sure the signal was strong and clear so the aliens could not miss it. The alien ship stopped moving. For 1 hour, nothing happened. Jake and his crew waited and hoped. They prepared gifts to show the aliens. Dr. William Hayes got ready to show them human medicine. Captain Mary Johnson prepared food from Earth to share. Everyone on the ship felt excited and nervous at the same time. Then the alien ship answered. But it was not words or pictures. It was weapons. Bright red beams shot out from the alien ship and hit the Liberty. The peaceful human ship shook and burned. People screamed as explosions tore through the walls. The lights went out and the air became hard to breathe. Jake ran through the burning ship trying to save his crew. He found Lisa trapped under a broken wall. Her leg was hurt, but she could still move. Jake helped her get to the escape pods. All around them, their friends and shipmates were dying. The alien weapons cut through the Liberty like it was made of paper. War Captain Thexval watched from his command throne as his warriors destroyed the weak alien ship. The Zephyrian was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like black metal. His people had conquered 40 star systems by killing everyone who tried to stop them. Thexval had never met a species that did not fight back with everything they had. The humans confused him. Their ship had no real weapons. Their message talked about peace and friendship. Thexval thought this meant they were cowards. In his experience, only the weak talked about peace. The strong took what they wanted and killed anyone who got in their way. Thexval ordered his hunters to catch some of the humans alive. He wanted to study these strange creatures who came to space without proper weapons. His warriors shot at the escape pods as they flew away from the burning ship. Most of the small ships exploded. Only 3 pods escaped into the dark. Lisa found herself in one of the pods with 5 other survivors. The pod was damaged and leaking air. She worked with the others to fix the communication system. They had to warn Earth about the aliens. They had to tell people that the creatures they met were killers who attacked without reason. The survivors sent their message toward Earth. They told everyone about the alien ship and how it destroyed the Liberty. They sent pictures of the black ship with its red weapons. Lisa recorded her voice telling Earth that the aliens were coming and that they killed peaceful people without warning. The alien hunters found 2 of the escape pods and destroyed them. They caught the 3rd pod before it could get away. Lisa and her friends were pulled inside the alien ship. The creatures that captured them looked like monsters from old Earth stories. They had too many teeth and claws that dripped with poison. Thexval looked at the human prisoners. They were so small and weak. Their skin was soft and their teeth were tiny. He could not understand how creatures like this had learned to travel between stars. The humans looked at him with fear, but also with something else. They looked angry. They looked like they expected justice. The war captain laughed. Justice was for the strong. These humans would learn what happened to weak creatures who came into Zephyrian space. He ordered his ship to follow the escape pod signals back toward human space. If humans were this weak, then their worlds would be easy to conquer. Thexval did not know that the human message had reached Earth. He did not know that humans had been preparing for this day for a very long time. He thought he had found easy prey. He was about to learn that humans were nothing like the other species he had destroyed. The Zephyrian fleet moved toward human space like a black storm. Behind them, the pieces of the Liberty drifted in the dark. The first meeting between humans and Zephyrians was over. War was about to begin. Admiral Ben Rodriguez stood in the war room deep inside Terra Defense Command. The message from the Liberty had arrived 6 hours ago. Ben was a tall man with dark skin and serious eyes who had spent 30 years protecting human space. He had fought pirates and rebels but had never faced aliens who killed without reason. The hologram showed the alien ship destroying the Liberty. Ben watched it 3 times. Each time he saw his people die, his jaw got tighter. The aliens had attacked a peaceful ship. They had killed scientists and teachers and doctors. They had taken prisoners. This was not how civilized beings acted. General Patricia Moore stood beside Ben. She was the head of human ground forces. Patricia had gray hair and scars on her hands from old battles. She had studied every war in human history. She knew that sometimes good people had to fight to protect the innocent. President Robert Clark joined them by video link from Earth. Robert was a careful man who hated violence. He had spent his life trying to make peace between different human groups, but he knew that some enemies could not be reasoned with. The aliens had made their choice when they fired first. Ben played the message from Lisa Carter again. Her voice shook as she described the attack. She told them about the alien weapons and the black ship covered in spikes. She said the aliens laughed when they destroyed the Liberty. She begged Earth to be ready for what was coming. Patricia pulled up maps of human space. The aliens were moving toward the colony worlds on the frontier. Millions of humans lived on those planets. They were farmers and miners and families just trying to build new lives. They had no way to fight against creatures who destroyed ships for fun. The president asked Ben what humans should do. Ben looked at the star maps for a long time. He thought about the rules that humans had made for fighting wars. He thought about the laws that said soldiers must protect innocent people. He thought about the promise that humans had made to never become monsters. Ben told the president that humans would respond according to their laws. They would give the aliens one chance to make things right. If the aliens refused, then humans would fight. But they would fight as civilized people, not as animals. Captain Amy Wright got the order to take her ship toward the alien fleet. Amy was a young woman with blonde hair and steel in her voice. She commanded the UES Meridian, which was built for exploration but carried enough weapons to defend itself. Amy had studied alien contact procedures her whole career. The Meridian jumped through space toward the alien fleet. Amy's crew prepared the formal declaration that human law required. They wrote it in simple words and sent it in pictures so any thinking being could understand. The message was clear and firm. Amy broadcast on every frequency she could find. She told the aliens that they had committed crimes against innocent humans. She said that humans demanded the return of their prisoners and payment for the damage done. She gave them exactly 72 hours to respond. The message also warned the aliens about what would happen if they refused. Amy told them that humans had laws about war. She said that humans would fight to protect their people. She explained that humans knew the difference between soldiers and innocent civilians. She said that humans would follow their rules even in war. War Captain Thexval received the human message while his fleet moved toward the first human colony. He read the words and laughed until his chest hurt. The humans were giving him demands. They were telling him what he must do. They were threatening him with their laws. Thexval had conquered 40 star systems. He had faced species with weapons that could crack planets. He had fought creatures with claws like swords and acid for blood. None of them had ever sent him lists of rules before attacking. The idea that these soft little humans thought they could threaten him was the funniest thing he had ever heard. The Zephyrian war captain decided to show the humans what he thought of their laws. He ordered his communications officer to prepare a broadcast. Thexval wanted all of human space to see what happened to people who made demands of the Zephyrian Empire. Lisa Carter was brought to the main deck of the alien ship. Her leg still hurt from the Liberty explosion, but she could stand. 2 alien guards held her arms. Lisa looked around at the nightmare ship with its walls covered in bones and weapons. She smelled death and fear in the air. Thexval activated the broadcast system. He spoke to the humans in their own language, which his computers had learned from the Liberty. He told them that he had received their pathetic message. He said that the Zephyrian Empire did not negotiate with prey animals. Then HFY drew his energy blade. The weapon hummed with deadly power. Lisa looked into the camera with calm eyes. She was afraid, but she would not beg. She told the aliens that they would regret what they were about to do. She said that humans would remember her and all the people who died on the Liberty. The alien war captain killed Lisa Carter while billions of humans watched. He threw her body aside like garbage. He told the humans that this was what happened to species who thought they could make demands of their betters. He said his fleet would reach human worlds soon and that all humans would learn to kneel or die. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people wept and raged. They had watched a young woman die for no reason except alien cruelty. They had seen evil that could not be reasoned with or forgiven. They had learned that some creatures understood only violence. Admiral Ben Rodriguez felt something cold settle in his chest as he watched Lisa die. The aliens had been given their chance. They had chosen to answer with murder. They had shown that they were not civilized beings but monsters who needed to be stopped. Ben activated the emergency protocols. He sent orders to every human ship and base and colony. The message was short and clear. The Civilized War protocol was now in effect. Humanity was going to war, but they would fight as humans, not as beasts. The aliens thought they had shown humans what fear meant. They had no idea what was about to happen to them. They were about to learn that there were worse things than monsters in the dark. They were about to meet something that could destroy them completely, but chose to follow rules instead. The 72 hours ended at exactly midnight Earth time. Admiral Ben Rodriguez sat in his command chair watching the countdown reach 0. Around him, the war room buzzed with quiet activity. Officers moved between stations checking weapon systems and fleet positions. Everyone knew that when the clock stopped, humanity would show the galaxy what civilized war looked like. Colonel Steve Adams received his orders at the same moment. Steve was a lean man with quick eyes who commanded the First Strike Fleet. He had spent 15 years studying how to fight enemies who thought humans were weak. Steve knew that the first battle would teach the aliens everything they needed to know about human capabilities. The human fleet moved like nothing the Zephyrians had ever seen before. Instead of charging straight at the alien ships, the humans split into small groups. Each group had a specific job to do. Some ships watched and gathered information. Others moved to block escape routes. Still others prepared to strike at exactly the right moment. Dr. Helen Brooks worked from her laboratory ship monitoring every alien communication. Helen was a small woman with gray hair who could speak 12 languages and understand how different minds worked. She listened to the aliens talking to each other and learned how they thought and what they feared most. The Zephyrians expected the humans to attack in rage. They thought the soft creatures would throw their ships at the alien fleet like angry animals. War Captain HFY prepared his weapons and waited for the humans to make their mistake. He did not understand why the human ships were moving so strangely. Colonel Adams ordered his scouts to map every alien ship. The humans used sensors that could see through metal and count how many creatures were on each vessel. They identified which ships carried weapons and which ones held supplies. They found the command ship where HFY gave his orders. The information flowed back to human command centers, where computers built a perfect picture of the alien fleet. Every weapon position was marked. Every weak spot was noted. Every supply line was traced. The humans knew more about the Zephyrian fleet than the aliens knew about themselves. Dr. Brooks discovered something important in the alien communications. The Zephyrians were talking about human cities they planned to attack. They were making lists of human factories they wanted to capture. They were deciding which humans would be slaves and which would be killed for sport. Helen shared this information with Admiral Rodriguez. Ben read the alien plans and felt his anger grow cold and hard. The creatures were not just invaders. They were planning genocide. They wanted to destroy human civilization and turn the survivors into animals. This changed everything. Ben activated Protocol 7 of the Civilized War Code. This rule said that when an enemy planned to commit crimes against innocent people, humans could use unlimited force to stop them. But they still had to follow the laws about protecting civilians and treating prisoners with dignity. The first human attack came from nowhere. Colonel Adams had moved his ships into positions the aliens could not see. When he gave the signal, human weapons fired with perfect accuracy. The aliens watched their supply ships explode while their warships remained untouched. HFY screamed at his warriors to find the human ships and destroy them. But the humans were already gone. They had jumped away the moment after firing. The alien sensors could not track them. The Zephyrian fleet was suddenly alone in space with no supplies and no idea where their enemies had gone. The second attack hit 3 hours later. This time the humans destroyed the alien communication ships. Thexval could no longer talk to his other commanders. Each alien ship was fighting alone without knowing what the others were doing. The humans had cut the fleet into pieces without firing a shot at the main warships. Dr. Brooks studied how the aliens reacted to each attack. She learned that Zephyrians became confused when they could not understand their enemy. They were used to fighting creatures who charged straight at them. The human tactics made them afraid because they could not predict what would happen next. War Captain Thexval realized that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not weak prey animals. They were predators who had been studying war for thousands of years. Their strange behavior was not confusion but perfect planning. They were destroying his fleet piece by piece while keeping their own ships safe. The aliens tried to reach the human colonies but found their path blocked. Human ships appeared wherever the Zephyrians turned. The creatures could not go forward or backward or sideways. They were trapped in a cage made of human strategy and could not find the way out. Colonel Adams prepared for the final phase of his attack. He had studied the alien ship designs and found their weak points. Human weapons could cut through alien armor like it was made of paper, but Adams followed his orders to give the enemy one more chance to surrender. The colonel broadcast a message to the alien fleet. He told them that they were surrounded and defeated. He said that humans would accept their surrender if they released all prisoners and agreed to leave human space forever. He warned them that if they chose to keep fighting, they would all die. Thexval received the human message and snarled with rage. No one had ever offered him surrender terms before. He was a Zephyrian war captain who had conquered 40 star systems. He would rather die than kneel to these strange little creatures who fought with rules instead of claws. The alien commander ordered his remaining ships to attack the nearest human vessel. It was a mistake that cost him everything. The humans had been waiting for this moment. When the aliens broke the rules of surrender, the humans were free to use their full strength. Human weapons fired from every direction at once. Alien ships exploded like flowers made of fire and metal. The creatures who had laughed while murdering Lisa Carter learned what it meant to face an enemy who was stronger and smarter and better prepared than they could ever imagine. But even in their moment of victory, the humans followed their laws. They did not fire on escape pods. They did not kill aliens who tried to surrender. They offered medical help to the wounded and food to the hungry. The Zephyrians could not understand why their conquerors were being kind to them. Dr. Brooks watched the surviving aliens and saw something new in their communications. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrians were afraid. They had met creatures who could destroy them easily but chose to show mercy instead. This was more terrifying than any weapon they had ever faced. War Captain Thexval sat in his ruined command center and tried to understand what had happened. His mighty fleet was gone. His warriors were dead or captured. The humans had defeated him without even breathing hard. But instead of killing him, they were sending medical ships to help his wounded. The alien commander realized that he had not been fighting soldiers. He had been fighting something much worse. He had been fighting civilized beings who could choose to destroy him, but followed rules that said they should not. The humans were so powerful that they could afford to be merciful. Major Ryan Kelly stood on the bridge of the assault ship, watching Zephyrian Prime grow larger through the viewport. The alien homeworld was a dark planet covered in black cities and red lights. Ryan was a calm man with brown hair who had spent 10 years learning how to fight without becoming a monster. He carried orders that would change how the galaxy thought about war forever. General Kate Morrison coordinated the invasion from her command ship in orbit. Kate was a tough woman with silver hair who had studied every battle in human history. She knew that how humans won this war would matter more than winning it at all. The galaxy was watching to see what kind of creatures humans really were. The human fleet surrounded Zephyrian Prime like a net made of steel and fire. Every alien military base was targeted. Every weapons factory was marked for destruction. Every government building was surrounded. But the human computers had also mapped every school and hospital and home where innocent aliens lived. Ryan led the first wave of human soldiers down to the planet's surface. His troops landed near the largest alien military complex. The Zephyrians expected the humans to charge in shooting everything that moved. Instead, the human soldiers set up barriers and started broadcasting warnings in the alien language. The warnings told all civilian Zephyrians to leave the military areas. The humans gave them safe paths to follow and promised that anyone who was not carrying weapons would not be harmed. The aliens could not believe what they were hearing. No conqueror in their history had ever warned civilians to get out of the way. Captain Nathan Price commanded the human troops who surrounded the alien Capitol building. Nathan was a young man with red hair who believed that strength without mercy was just bullying. His soldiers had weapons that could level the entire city, but they were using them to create safe zones for alien families instead. The Zephyrian civilians ran through the streets in panic. They had seen their mighty fleet destroyed by the strange humans. They expected to be killed or enslaved like their people had done to so many other species. Instead, they found human soldiers helping old aliens walk to safety and giving food to hungry children. War Captain Thexival watched from his command bunker as humans took control of his world. He could not understand their tactics. The creatures had enough firepower to crack the planet in half, but they were being careful not to hurt anyone who was not a soldier. This was not how war was supposed to work. General Morrison studied the reports from her ground commanders. Human forces had captured every major military target on the planet without firing a single shot at a civilian area. The aliens were learning that humans could hit any target they chose with perfect accuracy. The mercy was not weakness but a demonstration of complete control. Dr. William Torres worked with the human medical teams who were treating wounded Zephyrians. William was a kind man with gentle hands who had taken an oath to heal anyone who was hurt. He could not understand why the aliens looked so afraid when he tried to help them. He did not know that no Zephyrian had ever been shown kindness by an enemy. The alien prisoners were the most confused of all. They were taken to human camps where they were given clean beds and hot food. They were allowed to send messages to their families. They were protected from revenge attacks by angry humans who had lost friends on the Liberty. The Zephyrians could not understand why their captors were treating them better than their own commanders ever had. Major Kelly received orders to assault the main alien weapons factory. This was where the Zephyrians built the guns that had killed Lisa Carter and destroyed the Liberty. Ryan's soldiers surrounded the facility and demanded surrender. When the aliens refused, the humans showed them what precision warfare really meant. Human weapons cut through the factory walls like surgical knives. They destroyed every machine and computer inside without harming the alien workers. The creatures who had built weapons of mass murder found themselves standing in the ruins of their factory completely unharmed. The humans had somehow destroyed their work while saving their lives. Captain Price led his troops into the alien government complex. The Zephyrian leaders expected to be dragged out and executed in the streets. Instead, they were arrested according to human law and told they would have trials to determine their crimes. The aliens had never heard of giving enemies a fair trial before punishing them. The news of the human invasion spread across the galaxy faster than light. Other alien species watched in amazement as the creatures from Earth conquered an entire star system without committing a single war crime. The humans were following laws that made them more dangerous, not less dangerous than any army in galactic history. General Morrison called a meeting of all Zephyrian military commanders who had survived the war. She stood before them in a simple uniform without decorations or weapons. Kate told them that the fighting was over, and that humans would now decide what happened to their species. The alien commanders expected to be tortured for information or killed as examples. Instead, General Morrison handed them documents written in their own language. The papers explained human laws about military occupation and prisoner rights. The aliens would be treated according to rules that protected them from abuse and gave them hope for the future. War Captain Thexival sat in his cell reading the human laws over and over. The creatures had rules about everything. They had laws that said prisoners must be fed and given medical care. They had regulations that protected civilian populations. They had procedures for fair trials and appeals. The humans had turned war into a system of justice. The most terrifying thing was that the humans could have ignored all these rules. They had weapons that could sterilize planets and ships that could cross the galaxy in days. They could have wiped out the Zephyrian species and taken everything they owned. Instead, they chose to follow laws that limited their own power. Dr. Torres treated a wounded Zephyrian soldier who had been hurt in the fighting. The alien kept asking why the humans were helping him. William explained that human doctors helped anyone who was injured regardless of which side they had fought on. The alien soldier cried when he heard this because no one had ever shown him such kindness. Captain Price established the first human courthouse on Zephyrian Prime. The building had judges and lawyers and translators who would make sure that alien prisoners received fair trials. The Zephyrians watched in amazement as their conquerors spent time and money to give justice to their enemies. The galaxy began to understand that humanity had created something new and terrible. The humans had rules that made their military more effective, not less effective. They could show mercy because they were so strong that enemies could not threaten them. They could follow laws because they had the power to enforce those laws on anyone who opposed them. Major Kelly walked through the ruins of the alien weapons factory. His soldiers were helping Zephyrian workers clean up the mess and look for new jobs. Ryan thought about Lisa Carter and all the humans who had died on the Liberty. The aliens were learning that humans remembered their dead by building a better future for everyone. War Captain Thexaval finally understood what the humans had done to him. They had not just defeated his fleet and conquered his world. They had shown him that there was a better way to use power. The humans were so strong that they could afford to be good. This was the most frightening thing he had ever learned. Ambassador Claire Thompson walked through the halls of the former Zephyrian palace that had been converted into a courthouse. Claire was a tall woman with kind eyes who had spent her life learning how to make peace between different peoples. She carried the authority to speak for all humanity and the responsibility to create a just end to the war. The trial of War Captain Thexval had lasted 3 months. Human lawyers had presented evidence of his crimes against innocent people. Zephyrian lawyers had been allowed to defend him according to human law. Judges from multiple species had listened to testimony from both sides. The galaxy watched to see how humans treated their defeated enemies. Major Tom Baker supervised the reconstruction of Zephyrian cities. Tom was a steady man with gray hair who understood that winning a war meant nothing if you could not win the peace that followed. Human engineers worked alongside alien workers to rebuild what the fighting had destroyed. They built schools and hospitals and homes for families who had lost everything. The verdict was announced on a Tuesday morning. War Captain Thexavel was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to life in prison. But even his punishment followed human laws about treating prisoners with dignity. The alien who had murdered Lisa Carter would spend his remaining years in a clean cell with books and regular meals and medical care. Admiral Ben Rodriguez addressed the Galactic Council for the first time since the war began. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to hear what the humans had learned from fighting the Zephyrians. Ben stood at the podium in his simple uniform and began to explain something that would change how the galaxy thought about power forever. Ben told the assembled aliens that humans had developed their war laws over thousands of years of fighting each other. He explained that the rules were not meant to make human soldiers weaker, but to make them more effective. An army that protected civilians earned the support of the people. Soldiers who treated prisoners well gained valuable information. Commanders who followed laws could sleep peacefully after victory. The galaxy had never heard ideas like these before. Most species believed that mercy was weakness and that rules were chains that held back the strong. The humans had proven that the opposite was true. Their laws made them more powerful because they could use their strength without becoming monsters. Captain Nathan Price led the ceremony where Zephyrian soldiers were released from human prison camps. The aliens had served their sentences and learned about human laws and customs. They were returning to their families as changed people who understood that strength should be used to protect the innocent, not to hurt them. Dr. Helen Brooks published her study of Zephyrian psychology and culture. Helen had learned that the aliens became violent because they were afraid of being weak. They attacked others before those others could attack them. The humans had shown them that true strength came from being able to choose mercy when you could choose destruction instead. The other species in the galaxy began to ask questions that they had never thought to ask before. The Krillian Empire wondered if their slave armies might fight better as free soldiers. The Nexus Federation considered whether their torture chambers actually helped them gather intelligence. The human example was spreading like a virus that made civilizations examine their own cruelty. War Captain Thexval sat in his cell reading human history books. He learned about Earth wars where armies had committed terrible crimes, and how humans had created laws to prevent such horrors from happening again. The humans had suffered and learned and grown stronger through their pain. They had turned their worst impulses into their greatest strength. Ambassador Thompson negotiated the final peace treaty between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. The aliens would pay damages for the Liberty and the people who died aboard her. They would surrender their weapons of mass destruction and accept human observers to ensure they followed galactic law. But they would remain free to govern themselves and build their own future. The signing ceremony took place on Zephyrian Prime in the courthouse that humans had built. Representatives from across the galaxy watched as former enemies signed agreements to live in peace. The treaty established principles that would govern how civilized species treated each other in war and peace. Major Baker opened the first integrated school where human and Zephyrian children learned together. The young aliens asked questions about Earth and human customs. The human children learned about Zephyrian art and music. Tom watched them play together and realized that the next generation would not make the mistakes their parents had. Major General Kate Morrison retired from military service and became the director of the Galactic Institute for Civilized Warfare. The school taught soldiers from many species about human military law and tactics. Kate showed them that armies could be both more effective and more humane when they followed proper rules of engagement. The changes spread across known space like ripples in a pond. Species that had been enemies for centuries began to negotiate instead of fighting. Pirates found that attacking civilian ships brought swift punishment from new galactic patrol forces. Slavers discovered that their customers no longer wanted to buy people because it had become unfashionable to own other thinking beings. Dr. William Torres established the first multi-species hospital where doctors from different worlds worked together to save lives. William trained alien medics in human techniques for treating battlefield wounds without regard for which side the patients had fought on. The idea that healers should help everyone slowly spread through galactic medical communities. War Captain Thexaval received a letter from Lisa Carter's parents. They told him that they forgave him for killing their daughter because they understood that he had been taught to be cruel by a cruel society. They said they hoped he would use his remaining years to teach other Zephyrians about the better way that humans had shown them. The galaxy began to understand that humanity had not just won a war. They had introduced concepts that challenged everything that species had believed about power and violence and justice. The humans had proven that the strongest armies were those that chose to limit their own strength according to moral principles. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Terra Station watching ships from dozens of worlds dock at human ports. Traders and diplomats and students came to learn about the strange species that had turned war into an instrument of justice. Ben thought about Lisa Carter and all the people who had died to teach the galaxy this lesson. Ambassador Thompson received reports that 3 more star systems had adopted human-style military codes. The governments wanted their armies to be as effective as human forces. They were learning that soldiers who protected civilians fought harder than soldiers who terrorized them. The human way of war was becoming the standard that civilized species tried to achieve. The Zephyrian Empire began to change under the guidance of leaders who had learned human principles during their imprisonment. Former War Captain Thexaval became an advocate for prison reform who taught other aliens about the justice he had received from his enemies. The species that had once conquered through fear now sought to earn respect through honor. Captain Price commanded the first mixed human and Zephyrian crew aboard an exploration vessel. The former enemies worked together to map new star systems and make contact with undiscovered species. When they met aggressive aliens, they offered the choice between human law and human force. Most chose law. The galaxy had learned to fear something worse than monsters or tyrants or weapons that could destroy worlds. They had learned to fear creatures who could be monsters but chose not to be. They had met beings who were so powerful that they could afford to follow rules that limited their own strength. Humanity had given the galaxy its greatest gift and its greatest terror. They had shown that true power came not from the ability to destroy but from the wisdom to know when destruction was necessary and when mercy was stronger than vengeance. The civilized human war protocol had terrified them all because it proved that the mightiest armies were those that chose to be good.